Okay, so let's get right into it. When you think of the Great Pyramids, you probably think of them as these giant, incredible tombs for pharaohs. And you're not wrong, but there's so much more than that. These are monuments of a powerful belief system. They're insane feats of engineering, and they're really a testament to an entire society that was organized around this one single goal, making sure their king could live forever.
And that really is the question, isn't it? It's what's captivated people for thousands of years. How in the world did they do it? I mean, think about it. No steel crayons, no power tools, nothing like that. Just human brains and human muscle. This is the central mystery we're going to dig into. The sheer, almost impossible scale of it all is really where our story has to begin.
Just to give you some perspective, let this number sink in. 2.5 million. The Great Pyramid of Giza is built from roughly 2.5 million individual blocks of stone. Some of these weigh as much as a car, and some of the bigger ones weigh as much as several elephants. And they were all put together with this incredible, breathtaking precision. So how on earth did they pull that off?
Well, to even begin to understand the how, we've really got to start with the why. The pyramids weren't just some crazy architectural challenge they set for themselves. For them, it was a sacred duty. The whole project was driven by this incredibly deep belief the Egyptians had in the afterlife and what it took to get there safely.
See, for the ancient Egyptians, a person was more than just a body. They believed everyone had these two critical parts to their soul: the Ka, which was your life force or your spiritual twin, and the Ba, which was your individual personality. After you died, your Ba could travel around, but here's the catch. Both the Ka and the Ba needed to be able to return to your physical body. It was their home base. Without it, your soul would be lost forever, and your shot at eternal life was gone.
And that's exactly why mummification was so incredibly important. It wasn't just some creepy burial custom. It was essential technology for becoming immortal. The whole idea was inspired by the story of their god Osiris, who was brought back to life. So the Egyptians perfected this process to make sure the body was preserved, giving the Ka and Ba a permanent place to return to. Only then could the two reunite and transform the person into an Ak, a glorious, immortal being of light.
This ancient saying kind of reveals the last piece of this puzzle. It wasn't just enough to preserve the body. Your name, your memory had to live on. A massive monument like a pyramid made sure the pharaoh would never, ever be forgotten. Priests would perform rituals there, people would leave offerings, and most importantly, the king's name would be spoken for all time. The pyramid was basically a permanent anchor for a permanent soul.
So, you have this profound belief, but how do you turn it into something real, something that can last forever? Well, that need sparked a massive revolution in architecture, an idea that would literally change the landscape and kick off the great age of the pyramids.
The classic pyramid shape we all recognize didn't just pop into existence. It actually evolved from much simpler tombs. At first, royal tombs were these low, flat-roofed buildings called mastabas, and they were just made out of mud brick. But then along comes this total genius, an architect named Imhotep. He's working for his king, Djoser, and he has this brilliant idea. What if we stack mastabas on top of each other, getting smaller as we go up? And bam, the result was the Step Pyramid. It was the world's very first massive building made completely out of stone. And that choice of material, wow, it changed everything. Mud brick crumbles, wood rots, but stone? Stone is forever. By making that switch to stone, Imhotep wasn't just picking a stronger building material. He was making a powerful statement. He was building something that, just like the soul it was designed to protect, was meant to last for eternity. Okay, so this brings us to one of the biggest questions and honestly, one of the biggest myths about the pyramids. Who were these people? Who actually spent their lives cutting, hauling, and lifting millions of these massive stones?
For centuries, the popular image we've all had, mostly thanks to movies, is of thousands upon thousands of slaves being brutally forced to work. But the archaeological evidence we have today tells a totally different story. The reality is, the pyramids were built by a skilled, well-organized, and surprisingly well-cared-for workforce.
And we know this because archaeologists actually found the village where the pyramid builders lived, right there near the Giza Plateau. And what they discovered is just fascinating. They found organized housing, almost like barracks. They found huge bakeries that could bake enough bread for thousands of people every day. They even found skeletons of workers who had broken bones that had been properly set and had healed. That's evidence of medical care. These workers were respected so much that they were buried in their own cemetery nearby, a great honor. You just don't do that for a slave workforce.
So the workforce was basically two groups.
You had a core team of highly skilled, full-time craftsmen and engineers. Then they were joined by a much larger group of seasonal workers, mostly farmers. Every year, when the Nile River flooded, the farmland was underwater, so they couldn't work. During that time, they'd come to Giza to work on the pyramid. It was probably seen as a way to pay their taxes, but also as this sacred national project that everyone was a part of.
Okay, so we've got a motivated workforce and a powerful religious purpose. Now we get to the main event, the engineering. How do they physically cut, move, and then lift millions of tons of stone into place?
First, just look at the logistics. It's a massive puzzle. Most of the pyramid is made of limestone that they quarried right there on site. Easy enough. But the beautiful, smooth, white casing stones that made the pyramids shine in the sun, those had to be brought from a place called Tura, across the Nile River. And then, get this, the huge granite blocks they used for the king's burial chamber, some weighing 70 tons, came from Aswan, which is over 900 kilometers away. Just getting those to Giza was an unbelievable challenge.
So how did they get those giant blocks all the way up the pyramid? Well, this is still one of the biggest debates. People used to think they built a single, long, straight ramp, but that would have had to be enormous. Another idea is a spiral ramp wrapping around the outside, but that would make it almost impossible to keep the corners perfectly aligned. Right now, the leading theory is that they used a combination, a short external ramp to get started, and then a spiraling internal ramp, kind of like a hidden staircase, built inside the pyramid itself as it got taller.
But even with all the things we think we know, the pyramids are still holding on to some incredible secrets. The way they were built shows a level of precision that is just, well, it's mind-boggling. And modern technology is actually helping us uncover new secrets hidden right inside their walls.
Get this number, 0.067 degrees. That's how far off the Great Pyramid is from being perfectly aligned to true north. It's an almost unbelievably tiny margin of error. And they achieved this thousands of years before anyone had invented a compass or GPS. They did it by watching the stars with incredible patience and skill, proving they were absolute masters of astronomy.
And there's still so much we don't know. A few years ago, scientists used modern scanning technology and found something incredible, a massive, hidden, empty space deep inside the Great Pyramid. It's at least 30 meters long, and they've nicknamed it the Big Void. And the craziest part? We have absolutely no idea what it is. Is it a secret chamber? Is it just there to relieve weight from the structure below? We don't know. And that's the magic of the pyramids. Just when we think we have them all figured out, they throw a new mystery at us. So at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, is the pyramid just a tomb, or is it something much, much more? Maybe it's better to think of it as a kind of spiritual machine, a machine that was engineered to transform a mortal king into an immortal god, to connect the earth with the stars, and to launch a soul on its journey into eternity. Not a blueprint for death, but a blueprint for rebirth.